Hi guys, so today we're going to carry on with the Ozymandias poem that we were doing for last lesson. So this is the last thing that you did. This was your task, the work that was due in for today, so hopefully you managed with that. We're going to move on now and look a little bit more at the structure of the poem and also some of the themes. So the first thing I want you to have a think about is, why do you think Shelley called the poem Ozymandias and not Ramesses? So we already know from the last lesson that Ozymandias was just another name for Ramesses II. So why is it, do you think, that Shelley chose to use Ozymandias and not his real name of Ramesses II? Have a think about that and we'll come back to that a little bit later on. Okay, so looking at the structure of the poem then, so it is a sonnet, and for those that don't know what a sonnet is, I'm going to quickly go through it a little bit with you. There are different styles of sonnet, but I'm going to go through the two that are important to this poem. So the first one is a Petrarchan sonnet, which is 14 lines. The first 8 lines is what we call an octave, and that usually poses a problem, followed by the last 6 lines, which we call a sestet, which usually solve that problem. And then line 9 is called a volta. So that's usually where there's a sharp turn which brings about a resolution to the problem. They are typically about love and romance, and with this particular form of sonnet, it usually follows an ABBA rhyme scheme. So ABBA, ABBA. The next one is a Shakespearean sonnet. So Shakespeare came after Petrarchan, and this was a little bit different. He changed it up slightly. So it was still 14 lines, but it was 3 quatrains, and it always ended with a couplet. So the last 2 lines would be a couplet. The volta, which was the sharp turn which brings about the resolution, would always be in the couplet. It follows an iambic pentameter, which is 10 syllables per line, and the rhyme scheme was typically A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. So, thinking about that then, I've got the Ozymandias poem on the right here. So, it does have 14 lines, so that is typical of any sonnet. However, it breaks from the traditional sonnet style, so it's a bit of a mixture of Petrarchan and Shakespearean. So the Petrarchan form is that it has got the first 8 lines, which sort of pose the problem, and the last 6, which resolve that. And then the Shakespearean side of that is it does begin with an AB rhyme scheme, so land, sand, stone, frown. It's sort of a half rhyme there, but it sort of lightly follows that structure. It is about love, not the typical sense of love, but this is more about Ozymandias' love for himself, his ego. Now, thinking about the structure and how Shelley changed the sonnet to fit what he wanted to write, we could say that that represents Shelley's interest in challenging conventions, both political and poetic. So the poet uses form and structure to reflect the theme of the poem, which is that nothing lasts forever. And he did that quite cleverly in saying that the sonnet form doesn't even last forever, it is changeable. So, moving on to a task then. So what I want you to think about is I want you to reread the poem. You've got your own copy in the shared area, and I want you to have a think about where is the power in this poem. So which bits of that poem represent power? And is Shelley saying anything about the power of nature in the poem? If so, what? Now, I don't want just one really short sentence. I want detailed answers, and I want evidence as well. So that's your first little task. Your second one is to research the following and make sure you understand the definitions of each. So I don't just want you to go to the internet, type the words in and copy and paste the description or the definition. I want you to understand what they mean, and the way that I'm going to know that you understand that is that I want you to think about how each of those things relate to the poem, and I want you to write down your ideas in a Word document or on paper and send it to me. and I want you to try and include evidence with that, so quotes from the poem. So I want you to think about transience and find the definition for that. Make sure you understand what that means. And I want you to reread the poem and think about how transience is a part of the poem. Same goes for hubris. And then I also want you to think about the different types of power. Power is not just a one size fits all. There isn't just one form of power. So I want you to have a think about the different types, and they are your tasks for today. So I want you to give them a go. Email me if you're struggling, and I'll go through it in a little bit more detail with you if I can. Other than that, stay safe, and I'll see you for the next lesson.